Herzlich willkommen zu Queer-Beet Diversity in Salzburg. Anlässlich zum International Transgender Day of Visabiltiy haben wir zum zweiten Mal Cat Jugravu bei uns eingeladen. Im Jänner dieses Jahres fand die Performance Dionysos Madness Pours Upon My Lovely Face in der AG Kultur Salzburg statt. Im Zuge des Masterprojekts des Studiums Applied Theater vom Mozarteum Salzburg hat Cat die Geschichte Die Bakchen des griechischen Philosophen Euripides zu einer Performance, einem Rave und Ritual neu verfasst. Euripides' Ursprungswerk handelt über die Bakchen, den Verehrerinnen von Dionysos. Dionysos ist eine der 12 Göttinnen und Götter des Olymps. In der griechischen Mythologie ist er der Gott des Weines, der Freude, der Trauben, der Fruchtbarkeit, des Wahnsinns und der Ekstase. Die Performance dabei handelt genau von Dionysos und seinen Verehrerinnen und den weiteren mythologischen Wesen. Das Publikum war dabei mitten im Geschehen dabei. Das Finale endete dann in einem gemeinsamen Rave. Wir waren auch vor Ort und haben einige Eindrücke für euch gesammelt.
It was me and a gun and his hands around my neck, but I haven't seen Barbados, so I must get out of this. It was me and a gun and a man on my back, but I haven't seen Barbados, so I must get out of this.
I think it was about time to do this piece because I needed myself to process certain aspects of my history, certain aspects of loneliness and isolation. Dionysos' madness pours upon my lovely face. It's a bit of an incursion into the reclaiming of trans myths, the recuperation of queer history that has been deleted, erased, forgotten throughout the times.
From the ancients to the present, with love. Rituals, 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 darling, rituals for communal transcendence, for eternal independence, for communion with descendants.
I wanted to create the character of Dionysos as someone that is always in this liminality between sexual but innocent, liberated but also incarcerated. And for me, like exploring those intersections were a bit difficult, and also look into myself and push myself to experience with semi-nudity, for example. So that was a challenge, but a very nice challenge. Also, it led to liberating my body and the way I look at my body ultimately. I would like that people allow themselves to have an experience through, being part of the performance. But I would also like that those that watch and the audience allow themselves to be a bit more playful with themselves and with, explore beyond the borders that each person has and see what's on the other side. Because I think it also, like Nietzsche mentions about the Dionysian nature, which is accepting that there is as much darkness as there is lightness inside of a person.
Den Rahmen unserer heutigen Sendung ist der International Transgender Day of Visabiltiy, der am 31. März gefeiert wird. Dieser Tag widmet sich der Sichtbarkeit und Aufklärung von Transpersonen und macht gleichzeitig auf die Sensibilisierung und Diskriminierung aufmerksam. Deshalb möchten wir nach den Eindrücken von Dionysos Madness Pours Upon My Lovely Face nochmal näher auf das Thema eingehen und haben dazu mit Cat Jugravu bei uns im Studio über die Performance gesprochen. Themen dabei waren die Entstehung und die Hintergründe der Performance sowie die Auseinandersetzung mit der mythologischen Sagenwelt und der Betrachtung des Ts in LGBTQIA+.
Welcome, Cat. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to talk to us again. It's been some time.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 years, am I right? 2021, I think we did 2021.
Yeah, something like that. And I don't know if you've seen our last episode, but we talked about queer history and also a bit about the antiquity, and we want to make a short connection here, because your performance also, or mainly, involves Greek mythology. What does that mean to you?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, and thank you for having me for the second time, and thank you also to the team operating the machineries. I'm really honored, honestly, to be here and to also, you know, show my face for the second time in the queer beat, which I think is such a nice impulse in this godforsaken city, you know. So yeah, coming back to mythology, I mean, it's nice that you talked about queer history, because that is my current inquiry into, you know, like researching theater and researching queerness in theater, or like impulses. And I have this, well, I keep saying this, and I think it's very real, like our history, our herstory, our archives have been erased throughout the time. You know, our queer archives, our trans archives kind of disappeared from, well, history in general, but also, you know, theater history. But there are still some impulses, there are still some things that didn't get, how do you say, like modified or cleaned up, where you can actually feel the queerness in them. And this is what happens in you know, Greek mythology, and specifically Greek mythology as expressed through theater. It's like from time to time you would have plays which portray, for example, extremely well-written female characters. All of a sudden, you know, whereas like we all know how that women were somewhat treated like secondary citizens in ancient Greece, you know, but all of a sudden you have characters like Medea or Antigone, or, you know, and I mean, that is definitely, this is a feminist query, but also a queer query, you know. It's like you have mothers that murder their children, or sisters that go to war with their families in order to do a sacred burial ritual, you know. And amongst all this, you have traces of queerness and even traces of transness. You have from time to time certain characters which appear in antique theater, like Tiresias. Is a pretty well-known character because the character transitions throughout plays from male to female and back. And if that's not, I mean, if that's not a how do you say, a chronicling or an archiving of transness, then I don't know what it is, you know. You can interpret the metaphysics of it as long as you want, but the proof is there, you know. So starting from this idea, of course, I went to the source, looking into deities that might have been queer, and that can be reclaimed. And of course, I've always had this fascination with Dionysos because it always seemed like a very queer deity, you know. Dionysos named thrice born, so, well, twice born, but if you consider, if you go back into Mycenaean culture, you will see it is actually the thrice born. You know, and this very much coincides with the act of transitioning, or the act of also realizing that one is trans, for example. It is a rebirth, you know. Some trans individuals see it as a rebirth. Other things from like details of cross-dressing, you know. Dionysos as a child was dressed as a girl to be protected by, you know, Hera's anger. I guess it's a lot to really say, because the whole history or like mythology is connected together, but I don't want to. I already have the feeling that I'm talking too much.
No, you're not talking too much. I mean, we are.
There's a lot to tell.
We did invite you to tell us a lot. So
yes,
no,
yes,
that's
and
good.
I appreciate it so much. It's been a while since we did the performance here in Salzburg. And you know, the FS Science team was so kind to come and film it, and you were there as well, and Toby was there, and I think you did a wonderful job to surprise the fragility of moments. And you know, there's many moments of, well, you basically meet embodiment of the deity, of the trans deity, Dionysos, right? But you also meet me. The performance is quite well autobiographical. So you meet me at a specific moment in my life, but you meet the deity, and these two universes, they collide in order to help the audience the transition as well, but not necessarily transition through gender, but transition from, you know, one state to the other, from sadness to ecstasy, for example, from anger to fear, from and there you have the deity Dionysos and also the Maenads to kind of hold the audience through this process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you already mentioned it's like a mixture of Dionysus' story, but also your story in a lot of ways. Mm. In what ways can you relate to Dionysus? Also maybe being a god of madness, of ecstasy, of wine, all of that.
Mm-hmm. I think to many ways, and I think most queer people could relate if you really ask it, because it's not just madness and drunkenness, and it's also you know, it's a deity of contradictions, of like opposing ideas. It's a deity of both darkness and lightness. It's a deity of you know, as you said, ritualistic madness and drunkenness. I think this opposition exists in each and every person, but mostly we as queer people were able to realize that there is, you know, we exist at the intersection of many things opposing. So yeah, when I wrote the text, so obviously it's based on Die Bakchen from Euripides, and this tells the story of Dionysos coming back to Thrace to be acknowledged as the son of Semele, who is a princess that had an affair with Zeus. But of course, Dionysos is not acknowledged by the family, by the royal family, which is his family. And you know, I am putting the male gender onto it because it is in the play. It appears with the he, him. But I had a shift. So the family refuses to acknowledge the deity as being a deity and also as being part of their family. So there is a double negation of someone's identity here. So obviously Dionysos gets a bit mad and gets all the women in Thebes. I think I said Thrace, and that is wrong geography. It's in Thebes. Gets all the women drunk and summons them onto the mountain for a ritualistic orgy celebration of their innermost, darkest cravings, and also an adoration of the deity. Of course, the king Pentheus gets very mad and threatens, you know, it's like here we can see it's like the patriarchy being like, what's happening there? Only weird things, you know, they're like some creeps up on the mountain. I'm gonna go with the army and we're gonna kill them all and get our women back, you know. But there comes Dionysos and kind of like and thought. So I was like, how do you say, entführen?
Yeah.
It's funny, I'm starting to forget English and express myself in German. Well, kind of gets Pentois also mad, no? But it's a different level of madness where like Pentois is not sure when it's night, when it's day, he's not sure what he sees. Is it a bull or a human being, you know? So gets a bit, so Dionysos convinces Pentois that the best solution would be Pentois to dress up as a woman, as a Bacchae, as a worshipper of Dionysos, and go up on the mountain to spy. Of course, that leads to a very tragic ending, and basically Pentois ends up having, well, his body torn to pieces, to shreds by his own mother, Agave, as a punishment. I mean, you know, it is a tragedy because Pentois commits hubris, which is tragic fault. It's like when you make a mistake in front of a god. But also this is the Dionysian cult. It entails tearing live flesh and consuming it.
Mm-hmm. So we know a lot about the history now. Now, what was producing this performance like? Because I think there were a lot of steps, there were a lot of amazing people involved.
Yes.
What was it like from?
It was a lot of stress. I mean, wait. So this was my graduation performance piece, right? Because I just graduated. I don't have my diploma yet, but 3 days ago I just sent my master thesis. So that's the last step.
Congrats, yes.
Thank you very much. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle, I must say. So this was the practical part of my master's. I hold a master's now in applied theater, artistic practice and society at Mozarteum. So we kind of start thinking about what we want to do as we enter into the master degree. I knew that I want to reinterpret some sort of Greek myth. I knew that it might be the Bakchen, but I didn't, you know, in the first year I didn't think about it. Well, in the second year we already have to start making a sketching of it, right?
Okay.
You have to prepare a budget, you have to gather the team, you have to write a concept. So, well, the work started a year ago. The premiere was on the 11th and 12th of January, but I would have already started with my research 2021.
Wow, okay.
It was a long process and also very stressful. I decided to travel across the German-speaking area and lead all sorts of research workshops of embodiment, meeting new queer communities, listening to their stories of transitioning and how, you know, how the queer body, the trans body experiences and processes trauma. And based on that, I devised a working methodology. Like, how do I want to create this show? I didn't want to make it a solo show, and it didn't end up being a solo show. You know, in my mind, I was like, there's going to be 50 queer people from Salzburg taking over the stage, you know. We definitely have so many queer people in Salzburg, but everybody knows that it's not that easy to take them out, to bring them out of, you know, of their homes. I did launch like open call, to say so, and I invited some people to work with in a workshop setup. And the plan was to work quite devised, so everybody kind of brings their input and then we form it around. But you know how it is. It is still a student project, terribly underfunded. So it feels a bit, you know, like taking advantage at the level when you invite people into a space and you can't, you know, financially, you know, reward them. Because we live in those times, you know, time is money. So, so yeah, I was planning a workshop. It didn't work out because I did not have people that wanted to attend the workshop. I'm being super honest now. And that was very concerning, you know. And at some point, I just had to do what every student in a liminal situation, in a terrible situation would do, to cheat a bit and, you know, involve actresses to work with. Which is like, it was, in the end, it was a super good decision. I had the chance to work with 3 super talented actresses, UQ Van, Ronja Seifred, and Luisa Jäger. I invited them also to break beyond the role, beyond the idea of just being an actress, and look inside of themselves and also bring personal stories that they might want to share onto the stage. And they did, and it was very empowering to also see that I'm not the only one that is like, you know, getting all naked in front of the audience, you know, metaphorically speaking. But I felt extremely supported, and I also tried to support them in that process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had approximately, well, a week of rehearsals per se.
Oh, that's not a lot, yeah.
That is not a lot at all, but I'm kind of used, you know. I work in community-based theater, so yeah.
Okay. You also interacted a lot with the audience during your performance. What was their response? What was their feedback afterwards?
Well, unexpected, actually. Because I ask a lot from the audience, no? You've seen the show, so I ask them a lot. I mean, from a level like, okay, well, decolonize your mind, to decolonize your body, and beyond that, transform your body now. But, you know, I have around 10 years of stage experience as well, where I kept working as, you know, either performer or director, so I kind of know how to work with an audience. And I kind of know how to get them to be interested and activate them from a very early time in the process. So I knew that now, because the show has a rave component, it ends with a 1-hour rave. So I knew that you can't just ask the audience at some point to just, and now let's rave after being 1 hour static. So I knew that it is needed to start from the very beginning, to understand that we are in dialogue. And this also, you know, this also came from like advising with my mentors, with Trace Polly Müller and Christoph Lepschi, that I need to move them. And that was very beneficial, because at the end the feedback was, I felt moved and I felt touched, and I felt that I transgressed some personal borders. I mean, of course, I didn't ask every member. Those that came to me definitely came, and they were very touched by them feeling that they're active part in the performance, that they're makers themselves.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've already said that there's been quite a process. Not everything went as planned. But what is like your final conclusion? Are you happy in general with how it was?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to draw a final conclusion, because the show is like still keeps going. I'm now planning to bring the show to Berlin, where I live at the moment. So I'm sorry, people, I left Salzburg. You missed your chance. So I don't know if I would draw a final conclusion, but for that moment, for that January moment, with all the stress and the dramas and the traumas and the budgetary confusions, it was good. I'm truly happy. I've had time to reflect on it, and even if there were mistakes here and there, you know, I myself, as an artist, as a theater maker, I'm in a constant state of flux. Like, I'm constantly analyzing my practice and improving, and I think also small mistakes are also very needed to, you know, if everything would be perfect, like, why would we even discuss it anymore? It's like, I feel like perfection is not a very queer concept also. It's like, I think imperfection is cool, mistakes are cool, at a certain level, even trashiness, I think, should be embraced, you know. We are improvisational as queer people. We always had to improvise. We always had to hide and run. And so, of course, this aesthetic that you've noticed in the play as well draws from that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the police comes, just get the rags and run.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are very excited to maybe hear from you again. What are your following plans? Can you tell us anything?
I could tell you a lot, actually.
A lot, yeah.
There's a lot happening, and I'm really grateful, you know. I was just telling you, know, at the moment I'm in Salzburg at a conference. It's a conference on decolonizing one's own perspective. It's called Wesen Perspektiven Zelt. And I was leading just got out of facilitating a workshop on drag performance as a way to decolonize gender, drag performativity, together with my colleague Trace Müller. But in terms of like out of Salzburg, I'm working with a Roma feminist theater collective. They invited me to replace a performer last year, and I guess I did a good job. So they invited me to stay in the ensemble at the moment. So we have a show called Romnia City, which deals with you know, it deals with remembering, first of all, the victims of the Nationalsozialismus, and specifically the Romnia and Sintice, and also it deals with the eugenics perspective of the Nationalsozialismus, the experimentation on twins, for example, which is something that happened in order to create the perfect human race. And it kind of tells the story of Rita Prigmore, who's a survivor of these experiments on twins, and Rolanda Winterstein, who was the twin of Rita Prigmore, that was literally killed hours after she was born through experimentation. And also tells the story of the mother, Theresia Winterstein, that also survived the Nazi persecution. And I get to play Theresia Winterstein, which is such an honor and such a fantastic thing such a fantastic human being and heroine, you know, to play. So we're going on tour to Hamburg and Hanover and Vienna with this performance in the next months. As I said, I'm trying to bring Dionysos to Berlin, and also I'm doing a mini tour with a Queer Dose project. I mentioned the last time that in Berlin I am artistic director of a theater/performance arts collective. It's called Queer Dose, and we've been working a lot in the Republic of Moldova. We created a show. It's called Queer Dose Rage, and we're planning to bring that to Romania in July. Yes, 1st of July, I think it's Pride time.
Okay.
And those are just a few. I don't want to expand on... My life is very chaotic, to be honest. There are many things coming towards me, and I'm having a hard time saying no, or... I think maybe you understand it as well. It's like...
Yeah.
When you're in your late 20s, early 30s, there's this pressure. You have to build yourself up. Mm-hmm. And I'm under pressure, as anybody would be at my age, I think.
Yeah, but I think you're doing a good job. I mean, even a great job. I saw the performance, it was amazing. And I am very excited because I'm sure the world will hear more from you. And thank you so much for talking to me and for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always nice to talk to you. It's always nice to also work with you, and having you at the show was amazing. And it's always nice to know that queer beat exists.
Yeah, and maybe if you're in Salzburg again,
I'll
have
give you
another
a call.
appearance. Yeah.
Well, let's see. I mean, let's see if the audience really, like, you know, it might be that people are like sick already, like doing twice, that's enough. I talk a lot. But maybe we do it in German next time. That would be
exciting.
No?
Yeah. Let's see.
Are you able to get a teleprompter here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, we're gonna script it next time.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you as well for watching.
Das war die neue Ausgabe von Queerbeats Diversity in Salzburg. Danke an Cat Jugravu für den Studiobesuch und an euch auch vielen Dank fürs Zusehen. Wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal und bis dahin, bleibt bunt und vielfältig.